Hey everybody, we have the augment guide right now for patch 13.12. I'm going to go over all the set 9 augments that you can take in the early game and what I think will set you up best for the road ahead. So as with the previous augment guides, we're going to be sorting everything from S to F tier. And keep in mind, just because something's S tier doesn't mean you always take it, even if I say always take it, because there are always some conditions you need to kind of meet before you pick the augment, and I put that down in the notes, and we'll go over each and every one of these. But essentially, if you are new, augments are broken down into a couple of categories. There's the econ augments, the combat augments, and the trait augments. For econ augments, you get gold or experience in some form or another, and these are great if you're trying to lose streak. And obviously, in the early game of TFT, you either want to full lose streak or full win streak. That brings us to the next one, which are combat augments. Combat augments are great if you want to just purely win streak. And then after that, you have trait augments. There are a lot of new augments that are kind of half and half. So with those, you kind of take if you're really not sure what you can do, because you could still win streak with them, you still could lose streak with them, but they're kind of like the undecided ones. And I think that's something that they're kind of pushing in this set, so we kind of have more things to explore and make decisions on. So there's also a change to the augment rerolls. You can now reroll every single one of your augments. So I have a step-by-step guide on how to reroll them. So first you have to identify your best augment out of the 3 choices, and then you do that by looking at the tier list, seeing if it's S, A, or B, and then after that you see if you could fill the condition. For example, if you get Blood Monkey and you have a win streak board, maybe it's not S tier, maybe it drops down to A tier. So then you would compare that for all your other 3 augments, and you just re-roll the lowest ones after that. That's going to be just the simple guide on how to re-roll your augments. Essentially, if they're bad, just re-roll them. But if you want an exact method, feel free to copy this one. But let's get into the augments. So we're going to start off with silver, but just to have the sorting here, or the tiering. S is the super brokens of this set. A is almost always take, B is situational, and C is you take them in a worst case scenario, and then F you pretty much always never take. You got so many rerolls, you're bound to get something better. So onto the silver augments. Blood money is really good if you want to lose streak, because you just get gold if your tactician loses health, which is all the time. So you're just gonna lose every round, gain a ton of gold, build a huge econ, and then stabilize sometime later in the game. Inconsistency, I personally really like this one because it's super consistent, which is kind of ironic, right? Essentially, if your streak is less than 3, so if you win, lose, win, lose, win, lose, win, lose all the time, you'll get 3 gold all the time. And that is a ton of gold. And it's really easy to be inconsistent because everyone's trying to win streak and everyone's trying to lose streak, that you can kind of just balance it out. It's very powerful, especially in the early game. You just get a guaranteed pretty high amount of econ. You're not going to get an insane amount of econ. You're not going to get a terrible amount of econ, but you're going to get a pretty high one. So it's very consistent. Risky moves, very risky, but insane value. I think this one gives you 20 health, but then you gain 35 gold later on. And yeah, that is very powerful. You want to definitely stabilize around stage 3-2 or maybe 3-5. Do a roll down at level 6 or 7 because you'll have so much gold. And you kind of need to, because most games you'll be at around 40 some health, and very risky, but I think it does pay off, at least for now. Silver Spoon is pretty decent. You just get a bunch of XP, and it's not that powerful, but I think it's overall pretty decent, especially amongst the silver augments. Unified Resistant, just a decent combat augment for silver right now. The stats are just a little high. Onto AFK. AFK is a classic, one of my personal favorites at least, and decent econ augment, but the other ones might be better. Blood Money, probably a bit better. That's why AFK is in the B tier right now. Risky moves is also probably better because you get so much more gold. AFK gives you 18 gold. This one gives you 35 gold, but obviously you have more health when you have AFK. Bastion Heart, just use this with 4+ units. So with the trait augments, such as Bastion Heart, Bruiser Heart, there are a bunch of other ones that are listed in gold which don't have a heart or crest or soul in their name. I'm gonna list out how many of those units you want before you pursue that trait augment. So what do I mean by 4+ units? That doesn't mean you need 4 Bastion active. That's way too much. What I mean is you have 4 Bastion units instead. So you could have 2 Poppies, 2 Maokais. That counts as 4. You could have 3 Maokais, 1 Poppy. That counts as 4 or more also. So that's kind of how you use that guide. But Bastion Heart, Bruiser Heart, pretty decent. Just generic tanks at the start. Buried Treasures, this is good for delayed win streaking. Challenger Heart, 4+. Pretty much with B tiers, I say do 4+ for the traits. A tier is 3+, S tier is 2+. But consistency, you just want to do a full lose streak and open fort. Maybe 1 out of like 20 consistency games, you could actually go for a win streak. I've seen this done at like high challenger even too, because sometimes with silver augments, if you have like a super upgraded board, you could definitely win streak consistency, but most of the time you're just open forwarding and then getting full econ throughout stage 2. Cybernetic bulk. Both cybernetic augments are good if you have no buildable items. Gunner Heart 4+, Harm Assist, useful if you want to like win streak and you have no healing items. Same with healing orbs. So whether you take Harm Assist or healing orbs is going to depend if your comp is kind of like a fast comp or not. What do I mean by fast? I don't mean by how fast they run. I mean by how quickly they end fights. So if your team wins or loses within the first like 15 seconds of a fight, you want healing orbs because fast fights favor healing orbs. It's kind of like Thrill of the Hunt. Harm Assist is more for like longer fights, but it's still decent in short fights. I'm not saying it's not, but it's typically better when the fights are long, at least compared to healing orbs. Invoker Heart's going to be 4+ units. Latent Forge, this is just going to be a lose streak, and then you try to win streak in stage 3. 1, 2s, 3, similar to 3's Company, but it can give you like good upgrades as well. So I would only take this if you don't have any upgrades on your bench, because it could either give you an upgrade because it gives you a bunch of units, or you could just sell everything for econ. Both methods kind of work. Pandora's item is going to be the next one. This is what you take for perfect items. Pumping Up, good for attack speed comps. Red Buff, good for win streaking if you don't have any sort of like anti-heal such as Sunfire Cape or the Morellonomicon. Social Distancing, good for win streak. Sword Card, 4+ units. Tiny Titans, good for lose streaking. Unburdened, pretty decent for vertical AD comps. What I mean by that is going for like maybe 6 Challenger they could use Unburdened. Maybe like 6 Deadeye you could use Unburdened, but that's pretty much all it's kind of useful for. All natural, this is good for win streaking on low item count. So if you can build all your items and stack it all on one unit, all natural is pretty good because the rest of your units without items can like benefit from all natural. But these types of augments, any augment that deals with like getting a bonus if you don't have an item on your unit, they're typically better in stage 3 and 4, which brings me to my next point. A lot of people might be looking at this tier list and being like, oh, why are you putting like one of these things at like C tier or something like that? Because the overall strength of the augment is actually pretty good. Well, this is purely an early game tier list. It's not for like the entirety of the game. So just because I put something as bad on the early game tier list doesn't mean it's bad in the late game. So I just want to add that in there right now. But like with all natural or in other things like that, I forget what the other ones are called, they're typically better in the later parts of the game. So I don't like them that much early game. Army building is pretty useful for reroll comps and loose streaking if you ever see it. Branching out, this is pretty much a YOLO augment. You get a random emblem and a reforger. So if you like really like the deep trait augments and want a YOLO, like I guess take it, but I don't really recommend it. Bronze ticket, pretty useful for rerolling. Caretaker's Ally, good for lose streaking. Component Buffet. This is very similar to Pandora's item, so it works a bit faster and doesn't give an immediate component. So I typically don't think this one is that strong. I think Pandora's might be a little better. Cutting Corners, use this for fast 8. Deadeye, 5+ units. Iron Assets, take this if you have no buildable items. Jeweled Lotus, take for mid game. Jeweled Lotus is another one of those like great augments, but pretty bad in the early game. Juggernaut Heart, since there aren't many 1-cost Juggernaut units, I don't think there are any actually. Only take this if you're like forcing Juggernauts. If you're a Juggernaut 1 trick, then do that. On a roll, only take if you're re-rolling. Pandora's Bench, same thing. Rogue Heart, 5+, Shadow Owl, 5+ units. Spoils of War, only take this if your entire board is upgraded because you get gold when you kill stuff. And if you can't kill stuff, it's not gonna be a good augment. Transfusion, take this for mid game. Zon Heart, take this if you get a Warwick 2-star. Slayer Heart, 5+ units, but like probably not. It's just not that great right now. And then Young, Wild, and Free. Well, if you are Young, Wild, and Free, slide on into my DMs. Just kidding. But yeah, don't take this. They'll probably remove it from the game because it's really bad. It's really bad. Let's move on into the next tier, which is gold. And by the way, all these show NA because you can't get these on stage 2-1. Moving on into the gold augments. So gold augments, there are a ton of them. I think there are like 100 something of them. And because of that, like some stand out more than the others. But dueling gunners are just like giga broken right now. So take this if you have like 3+ units. Glacial Breeze, take this if you have 1+ units. Loving Invocation, take if 3+. A lot of these, pretty much all of these are just trait augments that are like pretty OP right now. They're pretty much all take if 3+ units. Sometimes you could do if 2+ also, but I think 3+ is a little safer. Just because again, like there are a lot of them that are broken. So it's like if you're behind some of the other ones, it might be a little more troublesome. But it goes for all of these. All of these are trait augments except for tons of stats. Tons of stats you just take if you want to win streak. But let's move on into the next tier, which is the A tier. Again, there are some other trait augments too, but first things first, the first three are all win streak augments. So a cut above, this one gives you a death blade, and if you manage to kill units with your death blade, you are going to get a chance to get gold. So you need multiple 2-stars in order to make this work. All That Shimmers, it's another gold generation one. Again, I think it's best if you have multiple 2-stars, but you can also take this if you get Determined Investor and lose streak with it. Build difference just always good at the start of the set. Combat Caster, if you have blue buff or Shojin, take this because this revolves around casting a lot. Defensive Dash, 4+ units. Gifts from the Fallen, good with comps with weak front lines. Idealism, only take this if you already have a Hand of Justice that you can build, or maybe if you have a component and you could complete it on the next carousel and you have a strong board. That's the only other time I would take it. Ionia Crest, 4+. Long Distance Pals, take this if you run a 2-unit comp. Tactical Superiority, if you're running a 3-trait unit as your carry, such as like Vel'Koz, Teemo, there are a couple other ones with 3 traits, that's the only time you would take Tactical Superiority. 2 Healthy, this one if you're fielding 2-cost units for stage 2, definitely use that. Unified Resistance, if you're trying to win streak, this one's okay. Not as good as the silver one, but still pretty solid. You have my bow, take this if you can complete items with all your components, because this is going to be true for all these augments, which give you like a bow, rod, sword. I forget what the other ones were. If you can finish components with it, then definitely take it. But if not, they're definitely a lot weaker than other stuff. All Natural, take this if you are not using items on multiple units. Bastion, take it 5+ units. Bruiser, 5+. Challenger, 5+. Contagion, decent for win streaking, but it's more for later. Cybernetic Bolt, take this if you're spreading out items and nothing is buildable, or if it's a 5-component game. You know how sometimes the game, when it starts in stage 2, it drops you 5 components? That'd be the only time you'd take like the cybernetic augments, apart from like having nothing else to build with them. If you get like 3 crappy components, or if it's like a big component game, definitely go for the cybernetics. Demon Flare, only take this if you already have at least 1 Swain, but it's really best if you have a Swain 2-star before you take this, and items for him. Endurance Training, great for rerolls if you already have the other units. Escort Quest, great for win streaking if you already have a strong board and want to win more. This is definitely like risky, but it's a win more type of augment. Freljord Hard take if 3+ units. Freljord and a bunch of other traits, sometimes the unit requirement's a little lower. It's because it's more difficult to get the units because they're not 1-cost units. For example, Freljord has no 1-cost units, so that's why you can't have like 5+ Freljord. You'd have like 2-star Ashe at that point, in which case you're fine, you know? Healing Orbs, great for win streaking if you already have a strong board. Know Your Enemy, good for fast comps that can focus fire. Magic Wand, only take this if you can complete all your rod components. Martyr, good at multiple tank comps. Great for multiple melee. So if you're running like Rogue or something like that, or like anything with like a ton of melees, maybe like Juggernaut comp, Martyr's pretty good because a lot of your units are going to die because they're all up front, and they like kind of spread the healing amongst each other, you know, because the more units that can use the healing, the better it is. Metabolic Accelerator, great for lose streaking, probably one of my favorites. Pandora's Items, good for perfect items if you're forcing a comp. Patient Study, good for fast 8. Piltover Heart, only take this if you could get to 3 Piltover right away. Portable Forge, classic flex augment. You have to know which of the forge items are good. Most of them are pretty good, but you might have some specialties because some might only work with comps that you know. So just because, let's say that the sniper one is really good, let's just pretend it is. If you don't play Deadeye, don't take it, you know, because you won't know how to use it properly, you know? It's kind of like getting an expensive tennis racket and thinking that you're gonna beat other people in tennis even if you don't know how to play, you know? After that, we have Pumping Up. So take Pumping Up if you're forcing any attack speed comp. So that is going to be Azir, any of the Gunner, Deadeyes, anyone that uses a attack speed carry. That's going to be your bread and butter type of augment. Rift Walk, only take this if this gives you a Kassadin 2-star with good Kassadin items. Scrappy Inventor, if you can't build any good items, this is definitely really cool because you just get a lot of completed items. It's really nice. Shadow Owl Crest 5+, Shimmering Inventions 5+, Shurima 5+, Social Distancing, take if you're win streaking. Sorcerer Crest 5+, Stellacorn's Blessing. Get this if it gets you Soraka 2. Suppressing Fire, another trade augment. Three's Company, take this if you're lose streaking or forcing a 3-cost reroll comp. Titanic Strength, take this at 5+ Bruisers. Transfusion, this is a pretty well-rounded augment. It's a Vlad augment, but you could still get it if you don't pick Vlad. Unburdened, only do this if you're stacking 1 or 2 units. Vampiric Blades take if you have 5 or more units. Winds of War only with a Galio 2-star with Galio items, like generally like the tank items. You have my sword, only take if you can complete all your components, because it gives you the sword and the bonus AD. Adrenaline Rush, only take if you have 3 or more of those units. Ancient Archives, must tailor your augments for it to be worth it. This gives you a Toma traits, and you have to learn how to not YOLO your Toma traits, because if you YOLO your Toma traits, it's not going to be that great. If you watch any good player play Ancient Archives, you see that they wait until they get like a decent trait that can be tailored to them, and then they pop it. They don't just do it right away. Buried Treasures 2, take for delayed win streak. Caretaker's Favorite, take this if you're lose streaking into power leveling. Chemtech Enhancements, take if you have 3 or more units for Zon. Cybernetic Leech, only take if you can't build good items. Deadeye Crest 5+. Dedication, take if you know you're forcing a vertical comp. Demacia Crest 5+. Double Trouble, only taking if you're forcing a reroll comp. Early Education, only take if your AP units are upgraded and you're keeping them. One more note on Double Trouble. If you take one of the Econ Legends, it's really, really good with Double Trouble, because you could take Double Trouble knowing that you're going to get an Econ Augment in Stage 3 and Stage 4. Take them, get your 3-star, and then you get like the maximum value at a Double Trouble. Just like one fast tip there. Gargantuan Resolve, only take this if you already have a Titan's Resolve and a holder for it. For example, if you have a 1-star Warwick and you have a Titan's already, go ahead and take Gargantuan Resolve, double Titans him, it's pretty good. Gunner Crest 5+, Harm Assist, take this if you want to win streak and don't have healing, but it's not the best one, or best win streaking augment, I should say. Haunted Shell 6+, Hustler, only take if you can win streak. Indomitable Will, only take if your team can focus fire someone. Infusion, only take if you're forcing AP comps and don't have a mana item. Invokers 6+, Jeweled Lotus, this is more of a mid-game augment or late-game augment. Juggernaut Crest, only take it if it gives you a 2-star set. Not today. Only take if you have Edge of Night and have 2 holders for it. This one's very tricky because the Gargantuan Resolve, for example, that one you could just put both Titans Resolves on the same unit. But Edge of Night, you can't like just stack one unit with 2 Edges of Night. It doesn't do anything, right? So you have to find 2 units. So it's really hard to fill this condition. Parting Gifts, only take if you can spread items out. Perfected Repetition, only take if you have 3+. Rich Get Richer, take if you have an econ start. Salvage Bin, take if your items are trash and you know how to play flex. If you don't know how to play flex, then don't take Salvage Bin. It's not worth it. Scope Weapons, not sure who actually uses this set. Like, honestly, in the previous sets, it was very obvious who used Scope Weapons and RFC really well. But this set, apart from Belveth, I don't really know who can make that great of use of it. Maybe Darius, maybe. We'll have to see. Silver Ticket, take this if you're re-rolling. Slayer Crest, 6+ units. Sleight of Hand, if you already have a Thieves Gloves, go ahead and get another one. Spoils of War, take if you have an upgraded board. Oh, another note on Thieves Gloves is if you have 2 2-star units, it's pretty good, because you need to have 2 units that actually hold the gloves pretty well. Another option is maybe 1 2-star and then 1 3-cost unit. That could be another way too. Strategist Heart, only take with 3+. The Boss, only take it if you get a 2-star set and you have the items for set. Trade Sector, delayed win streak, what doesn't kill you. Only take it blue streaking, but it's not that great to be honest. Zon Crest, take this if you have 3 or more units, and then no on Frequent Flyer, Medium End Shopping, Multicaster Heart, Ravenous Hunter, Return on Investment, Rogue Crest, Slayer Resolve, Stars Are Born, and Target Heart. I guess there might be some situations you could take them in, but for the most part, like, you can probably get something better because there are just so many gold augments. There are like over 100 of them that you could get at the start. So that's going to be it for gold. Going into the not availables, it's like a ton of them too. So pretty interesting, because I think we did not have that many augments before that were not available on 2-1, but it seems like there are a ton now. Maybe it's because of the legends, because like some of these like money is from the legend. Maybe that's why. But moving on into the prismatics, and if you did find this guide helpful so far, go ahead and subscribe below. And if you want to check out the full guide, it's all on the website bunnymuffins.lol/augments, and we'll leave a link to that up here. It's pretty useful to use like as you're playing the game if you don't know what augment to take. And then you could use a data site. I'm not saying you can't, but a lot of the data sites, they don't explain like what the conditions are. So if you just take something because the stats are high, but you don't really have the right opener for it, it could be a little dangerous. But moving on into the prismatics, we have Built Different. Built Different, always very strong at the start of sets. So I would just auto take this right now because people don't know how to play the game at the start. So Built Different, it's pretty simple. You just take the units without traits, and then you reach your cap pretty easily. And then you look at other teams and they don't know how to reach their super optimal cap quite yet because everyone's still learning how to play. So built different, very, very powerful. March of Progress is just OP right now, so just take it whenever you can. You just get so much experience. It's nuts. Noxus Crown, take this if you have 2+ Noxus. Shadow Owl, 2+. Void Crown, 2+. And then moving on into the A tier, Bruiser Crown, 3+. Challenger, 3+. Cruel Pact, pretty good. Not as good as March of Progress, but Cruel Pact is extremely good. But I would only take it if you already have at least 1 2-star because it is a win streak augment. Piltover Soul, take this if you can get 3 Piltover right away. Rogue Crown, take this if you have 3+. Roll the Dice, take for win streak. Sorcerer Crown, 3+. Starter Kit, take this if you want to do a fast 7 and roll down to get the 4-costed 2-star. So if you're playing around like maybe level 7 on 3-5 enrolling or level 7 on 4-1 enrolling, you could consider doing this. It's a little risky. I'm not the biggest fan of it, but it's doing pretty well, at least from what I've been seeing. Tiniest Titan, I like this one a lot. Take this if you're loose streaking. Bastion Crown, 4+. Deadeye, 4+. Freljord, 3+. Golden Ticket, great for rerolling. The sweet spot's 2-cost reroll, but all rerolls work. Gunner Crown, take it 4+. Invoker Crown, 4+. Ionia, 4+. Juggernaut, 3+. And then Level Up, great for fast aiding, but Level Up is one of those augments that get better as a set goes on because a lot of people, yeah, like you know the leveling pattern for for fast 8, but you don't know exactly how to properly pilot a comp yet all the way from like level 1 to level 8 because it's just the start of the set. Not everyone knows how to play perfectly yet, and as that gets discovered, people will find out which boards keep them stabilized during like stage 3, which saves them a lot of HP. And then you like fast 8 with Level Up, then fast 9 right after. But at the start of the set, it's a little more difficult to use in my opinion. Pumping Up, take this if you're forcing attack speed comps. Radiant Relics, classic item augment. You just have to know which Radiant items are OP, so you just have to data check that. But at the same time, the data check has to still match units on your board. So I'm not gonna write down Radiant items right now because I don't wanna give you guys like the best stat-wise Radiant items or like the ones that I like personally, because if they don't fit the units on your board, it's going to be very, very useless. So you always have to just tailor it to whatever units are on your board. Shopping Spree, great for fast aiding. Shurima Crown, 4+. Social Distancing, take for win streak. Transfusion, pretty well rounded, as we discussed with the other ones. Ancient Archives 2, you have to tailor your tomes. I think people do not know which tomes to tailor around yet. So I think that's why it's not doing as well right now. But again, once we learn more and more about the set and like solve the game or whatever you want to call it, Ancient Archives becomes a ton better. Binary Airdrop, only take this if you have a legend that gives you more items later on. Don't just take Binary because of taking it. I don't even know why they offer it at this stage, but I thought they didn't, and I haven't seen anyone take it personally, but I checked the data and it is being offered at that stage. But do not take Binary Airdrop unless you have a legend that gives you items in the future, because this augment only works with those legends. Birthday Present, take for fast 9 flex. I guess you could take Binary if you just luck out into item augments later on, but like the random ones, not like the legend ones. But if you really want to rely on that for your game, like go ahead. It's not my LP, you know. Buried Treasures 3, take for delayed win streaking, but I don't like delayed win streaking in Prismatic lobbies because I feel like full lose streak or full win streak is much easier to play around with Prismatics compared to golds and silver, so that's why I think it's like a little lower. Caretaker's Chosen, fast aiding. Cursed Crown, take if you have 2-star units. Cybernetic Bulk and Leech, only take if you have no buildable items. Demacia Crown, 5+. Double Trouble, take it if you're rerolling and if you have a legend that allows you to get econ later on. Harmesis, take for win streaking, but like make sure you don't have healing items. Jeweled Lotus, take for mid and late game. Living Forge, take if you don't know if you can streak or not, because you get an item right now, like a Ornn item, but then you also get one much later. And because of that, like you're not gonna just full streak because you're not strong enough, you know. Other people have stuff like Cruel Pact and they're just gonna outscale you and beat you and you can't get your win streak. But you also can't lose streak because you have an item that's very good, so you're not gonna like lose to every board, you know. But it's great if you like don't know what's gonna happen and you just kind of want to wait it out. And it's also great for comps with multiple carries. Lucky Gloves, only take this if you have a glove component or another Thieves Glove that you can build already. Multicaster Soul, perfect for Vel'Koz items. Pandora's Box, good for perfect items, but it's risky to Pandora your Radiant item. I think people are like greeting their Radiant item too much. Yeah, you just gotta use it, you know. Freaky Friday, good for early and mid game. Freaky Friday is also kind of very similar to Living Forge. I think Living Forge Which one's better? Because Freaky Friday you could kind of play around. Living Forge, it's random. So comparing these two is actually pretty difficult. For me personally, I'd probably want the Living Forge more. But Slayer Crown, 6+ units, Spoils of War, only take if you have like a giga busted board. You're gonna get no stacks on Spoils of War or like no loot from it because you're gonna be facing people with Prismatic Augments. They're gonna be very strong. So if you take an augment that doesn't give you any power and you have to kill units, like holy cow, this augment just gotta be like one of the worst things ever, you know? If you're like in low rating, take it because that's the only time you could take it. I guarantee you this is going to be the worst augment in like Challenger or like GM plus, Master plus, whatever you consider high. Like it's going to be the worst augment by far. Like, well, maybe not overall worst, but it's going to be like towards the bottom of the list every single time because one, I sort this list alphabetically, but that's not the actual answer. It's just because you just can't take a prismatic augment that revolves around killing stuff if your team doesn't get stronger. So it is what it is. Strategist Soul, take this with 4+ unit. Targan, 3+. Wandering Trainer, take this if you're a flex god, and I mean flex god. Maybe this one improves as the set goes on as people get better. Zon Crown, 3+ units. Hedge Fund, you could open fort with this, but it doesn't really give you that much gold. It gives you 16 gold. If we compare it to like Windfall, like the old Windfall, I think that one gave like 25 gold or something like that. Whatever the case is, it's a lot more than 16, and it's really risky to get the hedge fund gold. It is what it is, you know. Tactician's Tool, don't take this, but like I guess take it if you have like a lot of 2-stars to win streak with. But I think the other ones are a bit better right now. I think you need to utilize the spats a bit in order to make it work. I don't think you always build the Force of Nature, but again, people figure that out more as the game kind of matures. But for 2-1, that is the guide. Again, there are a ton of other augments that we need to explore more for like the mid and late game. And if people want like tips on that, let me know down in the comments below because maybe I make a guide on that. But this is mainly focused, or not mainly, this is only focused on stage 2-1 in the early game. I think these set your game up the best. And I guess we could end off with the tip of the day. And the tip of the day is, yeah, data checking is really nice, and they are removing augment data checking, and I data check augments all the time, you know, like most of these are from data checks, you know, because I don't have time to play 250 augments, you know, but you can kind of look at stuff and then look at the data to confirm your like suspicions. And that's kind of how most of these are going to be made. But you can't just look at data and pick an augment. You have to like know why an augment's good, because it's like in chess. If you play like the meta openings or whatever, but if you don't know what the third move is, it's not going to be a good sign for you, even if their data is really good. So just look at the notes and only use these augments if you can meet their conditions. But that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you all enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you all next time.